I'm going to tell you what happened to me or happened during the arrest.
Wait a minute. Wasn't I supposed to speak? Wasn't I supposed to speak first?
Will you stop interrupting me? Okay. It goes back to the going to the Park Commission. Park and Rec and Park Commission was run by Walter Haas. Walter Haas was Levi Strauss administrator, and they were all appointed administrators. The people who were Park and Rec were appointed by the mayor, Shelley, and there was no reason that they would be on the Park and Rec to do any kind of cultural work, because essentially they had nothing to do with cultural work. They were all either lawyers or corporation representatives. And so when we did shows in the park, it didn't mean anything to them. And besides which, we had done opened once. I applied for a permit to perform in the park because it was here in California and warm on Sunday and Saturday, and I thought, we're doing outdoor theater here because we can do commedia dell'arte. Commedia dell'arte masks, not naturalistic. It's a style form, if you've ever seen any of the pictures of it. But the main G characters were playing Dottore and Pantalone and Arlecchino and Brigella. I played Brigella mostly, and Arlecchino was played by a painter from the Art Institute. I was trained as a mime with De Croo in Paris, and also I've worked with Paul Curtis at the American Mime Theater in New York. And we had always a big discussion, what is mime is different from pantomime. And I finally made a definition and explained what it is. If you've seen Marcel Marceau, he was always doing things with his hands, and the butterflies were there, etc. And he would imitate reality. Mime was an expression corporal where you put it in your body, and the character would become in your body, and you would use that as your message of your performance or your character. A mime was much more abstract. Pantomime was much more realistic or literal, and so we did not do pantomime, which was this literal stuff, which also was generally nonverbal. But we did do mime, which was historically much more connected to commedia dell'arte or mass theaters, Greek, etc. And so it was a form which, if you did it right, you were communicating physically, mentally, and verbally at the same time. Anyway, there was a lot of research to find out what the commedia were doing, what's the substance of the text. And I said, of course, we're going to not do old texts and do ancient history of commedia dell'arte. We're going to make something relevant to this particular environment, especially we started in 63, 64, and things were wobbly all at the time, not only the Vietnam War, but also whole cultural things were bursting all over the place. And so we essentially rode in on that maneuvering. I mean, the text had to be relevant and somewhat social. Not people would say, "Well, are you communist yet?" I said, "I don't think we're communists yet. It takes a little time to become a communist. You have to read a lot. You do? Oh, really? Yeah. You might understand who Marx was. Who's that? Groucho's brother. Remember him? Yeah. Okay. We'll get there." The Park and Recreation Commission didn't like the show. The fourth one, which they arrested us on, was Candelaio, was a play by Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake. And I thought it was perfect. If we were going to get arrested, and they threatened to arrest us, I want to be burned at the stake. He said, "Burned at the stake." I said, "Yeah, well, you just put it in the fire and we get something to eat at the same time as you're going to stop the show." Well, we're going to be martyred here. And so I don't know if anybody got that. They say you're going to get arrested. I said, "Okay, we'll see you in the parks and we'll see you in the courts." So we drive up here with the stage. The stage was 12 by 7 stage, piece of wood, about a foot high, with buckets and so on. It was a commedia stage, an imitation of commedia dell'arte, 12th century, 15th century, and had a backdrop. And so the truck drives up, and there, the Park and Recreation Commission is there, and the cops are there, and about 100, 200 people over here waiting to see what's going to happen. And because I said there'll be an arrest, and we're going to demonstrate. And what? You're going to do what? Forget it. Well, you'll see. So I asked them, are you going to arrest me if we put up the stage? They said, yes. I said, well, I don't want to be arrested for putting up the stage. What about if one of us, somebody plays a piece of music, who'll get arrested? Yes. Well, I'm not quite sure. I don't want to be arrested for playing the recorder. But what will I be arrested for? Well, if you do the show in the beginning, I say, good, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I got this little gem out of my thing, and I can't play it really well, but I played this little tune right now. And then finished that little tune and said, and said, I can't remember this
Ladies
one,
and
but
gentlemen.
no, Senor, Senora, Senorina, Madame, Messieurs et Mademoiselles, ladies and gentlemen, Il Troupe de Mime de San Francisco presents for your appreciation this afternoon an arrest. And I waited the cop to come and arrest me, and he does. And I thought, well, there we are. What I did do is in performance art terms, I commanded them to arrest me. So I was in charge of the arrest, which I thought was a little bit of an interesting kind of turn. And were you a victim of being arrested? No, I wasn't a victim necessarily. I asked the cop to do his duty and arrest me so we could go to court and bang these people up against the wall, because I thought the whole thing was bogus. I mean, I knew they had no grounding for what they were doing. They would have to say we're censuring you.
Is that you in the photo?
That's the leap in space, a leap into history. Because at that point, the cops comes over and arrest me, and in order to leap into history, you have to break the law, some way or another.
So I'm just trying to figure. It looks like you were here. The stage was here somewhere. Do you remember? It probably looked a little different.
Right.
Where was in this little area?
No, I'm at that end.
We're at that end.
We're at that, and 200 people are here. Yeah. Yeah. It comes up to the edge of that thing, and the stage was there. They actually performed after I got arrested. They did perform the play, because I was not in the play. I had replaced. I asked somebody. Luis Valdez of Teatro Campesino was the first one on stage for that production, and I said, "You want to get arrested?" He said, "No, I have a prior. I can't do it." And besides, he was a Chicano hero, and so therefore didn't want to get involved in it. I said, "Fine. I don't think your shoes should be. It should be me. Oh, that's it. I'll do it." And the advantage of that was that I would have the voice of the Mime Troupe. In addition, I wouldn't be in the play. I wasn't in the play. The play could go on because I wasn't in it. And they thought that we're going to arrest you for doing that. They did exactly what we wanted to do. And
did they take you away?
Yeah.
In costume, you were taken away?
The next picture is the next picture in the book is took me away. No, they took two other guys. I get arrested. The cop puts his arm around me. You're under arrest. I didn't even say you're under arrest. I said, okay, where are we going? We're going to the wagon. We're going that way. There's a wagon waiting there. And two other guys, while they're trying to arrest me, there's a melee of people knocking hats off the cops. Well, Marvin Garson knocked the cop, and a guy named Sweeney also kicked the cop. So the cops picked these guys up. So there's a photograph by Eric Weber, and there's 3 people in the images somehow or another related to this. Marvin Garson's front, so people thought it was Marvin Garson got arrested. He did, but for nothing. Top and hat. And then Sweeney is arrested, tall guy, also for nothing. And I'm in the corner somewhere there. I've been arrested for putting on a performance. So I thought, motherfuckers, excuse me, but they jumped right in the camera. So the picture that Eric Weber has that was in the magazines and all over was this little guy in the back and these other 2 guys in the front. Okay, and the 500 people who were throwing things at the cops and trying to stop it. Again, bogus. What are they arresting me for? Obscenity? I didn't say anything. I said, I introduced the show. We arrested you because the Park and Recreation Commission said, you can't do it. Can't do what? You can't do the play. Well, I wasn't doing the play. I was doing the introduction. Anyway, all of it, you find yourself frothing at the mouth, trying to make a case for why they arrested me for something that I didn't do, but you're going to go to jail anyway. I get out in 2 hours, and the lawyer got us out, and I went to jail, and I sat there with a bunch of guys, and it took about 2 hours to get us out.